Hi everybody, welcome to the Observatory at Britain Marketing and Design Group. And welcome to all of you that are live streaming on YouTube and also to the audience that might be peeking in on Facebook Live. My name is Nick. I spent my first 18 years in the land of meatballs and reindeer, or sometimes reindeer meatballs if we were lucky enough. And I've spent the last 18 years in the land of, in Indiana, in the land of churches, farms, topographically challenged landscaping. I don't know, but Indiana is awesome. But here I am. I'm a content strategist. I'm also your reluctant host. I would rather be hiding behind some spreadsheets or in a really super intense content modeling session right now. But I do have some good news. The next session is going to be on paid content or paid media, which is not necessarily my wheelhouse. It's not my jam. So we're going to have a panel next session, which is in June. I believe it's in June 29th, the last week of the last Wednesday of the month. So that'll be exciting. Again. Britain Marketing and Design Group, we're a creative design agency. We do a lot of brand-centered content creation, lifestyle marketing, color-trended stuff, consumer goods, fashion, and so forth. This is the 5th session of the content exploration sessions. We hope that these sessions are informative, collaborative, that you get some takeaways from this, tools, resources, tips, whatever it might be. Today we're going to talk about sharing versus curation, and kind of how to harness those native channel features that helps you optimize your content's organic reach. We'll talk about publishing schedules, frequencies, things, and stuff. So we are in the Observatory, like I said. It's our content creation studio, real-time listening and social media monitoring hub, our creative collaborative space. It is a command center for us for all of our digital content creation and communication. We also have a lab over here where we do a lot of visual content. We create a lot of visual content. We do a lot of testing and stuff like that. So. Some notes. Again, we love creating structured content that can easily be repurposed. And again, that's one of the reasons why we have the lab. We create desktop calendars that we share on our blog each week. So that's part of the sketchpad or notepad that we created for this session that you can download at bmdg.us/sketch-pad5 if you want to go ahead and download that PDF and start making some notes to it or whatnot. That sketchpad also has the next session's dates on it, the topic, some more social channels, resources, and so forth. So please, if you will, go ahead and doodle. We are big doodlers here. So for those of you who want to engage and participate in this session, tag Great Britain, hashtag Great Britain. Send us a tweet at BritainMDG, or obviously you can comment on our Facebook live stream. We're also going to perhaps test out the new Google Slides feature, their new Q&A feature. So we'll test that, see if anyone anyone from our YouTube audience wants to go ahead and ask us some questions. So before we jump into talking a little bit more in depth about content curation and sharing, we're going to set the table a little bit. We like this quote: "Share your knowledge. It's a way to achieve immortality." To us, it's the whole thing about being part of something greater. That's what sharing is all about. It's about being generous and empowering others. It's about sharing your good ideas so that someone else can make them great. And that's kind of the vision that steers our curation and sharing strategies here at Britain. We want to participate. We want to engage. We want to pull all of our we want to create content that our audiences and our fans and our clients' fans and everything that is useful and delightful and inspiring and so forth. So today's session, we're going to talk about sharing is caring. Again, publishing schedules, frequency slash cadence, which is a hot buzzword. We're going to talk about native channel proficiency, some cross-sharing do's and don'ts, and again, also talk about some tools that we use, and hopefully that you can use as well. A quick plug for what we do here. Content cartography is our content marketing formula. It allows us to optimize and be efficient around content aggregation, creation, our editorial process, our curation process. It lets us plan for and create engaging content that is channel agnostic, yet it still adheres to native channel user experience. While we also think it's hyper searchable. So that might sound a little bit like a mouthful, but that's what we try to achieve with our content. And here's the big deal for us. We absolutely believe that there is a little bit of a science to content creation and content marketing. We believe the function drives the people to the content, and that the form makes them come back. And they're of course interrelated and must be prioritized equally. In some cases, but they must be combined in order to maximize the reach of your content. And that's what our content cartography program is all about. It's about playing by the rules that the search engines and algorithms do to determine if your content will be seen, if your content will have its full potential from a reach and awareness standpoint. So let's start with curation, which is one of our circles in the content cartography program. Curation, a little bit buzzwordy as well. Curation and sharing are two different things. For us, curation is how you organize and structure your content. It has a little bit of a sharing aspect to it, of course, but it doesn't necessarily mean the actual sharing itself. For instance, as an example, we share our Pinterest boards sometimes on Facebook, but we curate pins and content on our boards. Another example would be we have a Flipboard magazine for our digital update that we publish each week, and we shared that Flipboard magazine throughout our different channels, but we curate the stories that are in the Flipboard magazine. So when it comes to the sharing part of it, we test and optimize a lot of different touch points throughout our different strategies. We look at the timing, we look at frequencies, we look at image usage, link tracking, native features, tagging, filtering, etc., to make sure that we are playing by the rules of the search engines and playing by the rules of that native channel that we're sharing content on. So sharing is caring. I know it's fun to say. I tell my kids sharing is caring all the time. They don't listen to me ever, but I try to tell them that. And I think the premise of that is that social media is, and this is not a new thing or whatnot, but social media is social for a reason. It has social in the name, social media. So sharing and engaging are social behaviors. It's human behavior. So for us, sharing is the big part of how you create great, healthy, vibrant social media communities. What sharing enables you to do is to give your fans or your customers a glimpse into your brand. It also enables your brand to amplify your voice and give it tonality depending on what channel you're sharing on. So. And of course, sharing also enables you to position your brand or yourself as a thought leader and a resource, a community advocate, and so forth. And let's talk about publishing schedules. We get really granular with everything that we do. We set really purposeful schedules for each channel that we publish on, because the audience is different, the usage is different, the user experience, the interface, everything is different depending on what channel you use. And the schedules is really determined by some of those factors, but we also base it on a lot of testing and industry data and analytics and research and so forth. We make sure that we publish a brand appropriate content due in part to an established messaging framework that we have. We determine before we start a specific project, campaign, or client, we establish content direction, we establish content goals, content types. We create a modified vent model for messaging. The vent model again is valuable. Is your content perceived as valuable, engaging, necessary, true, factual? So what we do, we create all these different buckets of or benchmarks for the content, and then we create that matrix that enables us to funnel and find kind of that intersection between where the voice and tone intersects with each channel to make sure that we're really granular with our publishing schedule. And another thing that the publishing schedule allows us to do is that it quantifies things a little bit for us. And makes digital and social content a little bit more tangible. For instance, I know that for our brand, I know that we publish content anywhere from 15 to 17 times per day on various channels. I know that we publish some 80 times per week and up to 350 pieces of content each month. So that quantifies a little bit for us. I also know off topic here, because we have set publishing schedules that and publishing times that that we publish, for instance, on Twitter, 8:04 in the morning, 11:23, 12:52, 8:47. So I know that we have a set schedule, publishing schedule on the channels. Now that schedule changes a lot, but right now that's what we have. So the main benefit of having a publishing schedule is that we have a fully functional, operational content sharing machine going full steam ahead, and it helps us react to real-time opportunities because we don't necessarily have to worry about, what type of content should we share today, what should we create today, and so forth. So we have a nice machine that keeps going and keeps sharing content out there. So it really allows us to decipher. Another benefit of having a publishing schedule as well is it allows us to really easily decipher patterns so we can adjust easily. And that's kind of what we think social and digital is all about. It's about deciphering patterns. It's about failing fast and learning fast. And having a robust, really granular publishing schedule allows us to do so. Then we got our frequency and our cadence. This is also something driven by our editorial calendar and editorial processes. Same as with the publishing schedule, the frequency and the publishing is, again, determined by data, by a lot of testing, and by using a lot of native analytics tools like Facebook Insights, Twitter, all the native channel insights and analytics that we can access. But we also use tools like Follow Our Wonk to see when our audiences are online. So from a publishing frequency as an example, we here at Britain, we started when we really started getting buy-in and started going all in with content marketing. We started off the bat publishing 5 times a week. And which was great because we didn't have any content inventory. We didn't have any content inventory to share with people. So we said, we're going to go all in. We're going to create a lot of content to build up that inventory. We're going to hopefully create content that resonates with our audiences and so forth. So we started with five pieces of content, original content each week. Now, as we progressed and did all the testing, did all the research and everything, we went from 5 pieces to 4 pieces to 3 pieces of original content to 2 pieces of original content or blog post each week. But we kept building up that authority from search engines. So what that allowed us to do, it allowed us to really hone in on what we did, what was working, what was not working, and what do we need to do more of, and so forth. So we went from something like 500 page views a month to now where we're anywhere from 10 to 15,000 page views each month, while publishing a quarter of the pieces of content that we did when we started with this, which obviously is because we've built up authority. We still have, and we've really refined our content publishing and creation process. So those native insights and analytics steer a lot of these decisions. So we just have to make sure that when it comes to the frequency and cadence, we have to ask all these questions. When are the fans online? What is the publishing threshold? How much does the organic reach allow for, and so forth? Because it changes. A couple of years ago, you could publish on Facebook as a brand 2-3 times a day, 4 times a day, and that was fine. But with the limited reach and their algorithm and everything, you don't have more of a frequency threshold than maybe publishing once or two times a day. So that's clearly changed, and it's fluid and so forth. We talk a lot about native channel user experience here, and what that really means to us is native channel user experience is using the channels properly to create the best user experience possible while adhering to the channel's native algorithms and purpose. So our first goal with any channel is always to figure out how do we create the best user experience. The second goal for that specific channel is always how do we get the optimal organic reach. So we have living documents that are basically our checklists of best practices, and we have these for 20 different social channels that we reference. And we look at things like account setup, images, image usage, tagging, location features, native features, targeting options, publishing threshold, all that stuff. If you look at an example, the threshold for using hashtags on Instagram versus Twitter versus Facebook are completely different. Because on Instagram, you're fine if you use up to 10 hashtags. On Twitter, you're fine if you use a couple of hashtags, 2. We usually do 2. But then when you get over on Facebook, if you are a brand page or a company page on Facebook, research and studies clearly show that your already limited organic reach on Facebook diminishes the more hashtags you use. So you don't necessarily want to use any hashtags on Facebook. And this is what kind of makes the curation, the sharing part of social media and digital a little bit hard and difficult sometimes, because it is kind of hard to scale using those native channel user experience features and everything. Because the social media management platforms out there that you can have and you can connect a lot of your different channels, they don't have access to all these native features yet. One, because those networks don't want to give want to open their whole platforms to these social media management platforms that benefit from other people paying them, of course, to use their product. So it makes it a little bit hard to scale. So you have to really balance certain things there. And then we also, when it comes to sharing and curation, we talk about, when is it cool to automate? How do we handle cross-sharing, and so forth. First part is we try to distinguish between cross-sharing and automation. For us, cross-sharing is when you publish the same content to multiple channels, versus automation is when you automatically syndicate content or pieces of content when you publish something. So that's a little bit of the distinction that we have. But we always think, when is it okay to cross-share something? And for us, again, it goes back to that whole user experience part of it. It is okay to cross-share when the user experience on that channel isn't affected negatively. And on top of that, it is okay to cross-share when the organic reach isn't diminished. So those are the main two buckets that determine to us when it's okay to cross-share. So what we like to do is we like to harness automation because we're all about efficiencies here. We like to cross-share when the payoff is there, when it's applicable and when it's a benefit to your brand. For instance, we say this all the time, cross-share the hell out of Google+. Google Plus is not necessarily a vibrant social community. It is for certain sectors and industries, but not for everyone. Google Plus doesn't necessarily know what they are either. But one of the things that you can't overlook, perhaps, is that you might benefit from the social signals that, from a search engine optimization standpoint, that Google Plus might give you just by creating fresh content and sharing that on their platform. So we're okay with cross-sharing directly to Google Plus because for a lot of our clients and for such, we don't necessarily have a big audience using Google Plus. But that all goes back to capacity. We also think it's okay to share and cross-share on multiple channels sometimes. But what we do is we write a baseline copy and then we go back in and add native features if we need to add hashtags and things like that. It can be cumbersome, but the payoff might be worth it too. So the main thing that we always consider is how does it affect the user experience negatively? When is the organic reach diminished? And if it is, then we don't cross-share. So for don'ts, we would again look at something like Facebook. Don't use hashtags on Facebook because that diminishes your organic reach. And then the main thing that we also try to look at is don't share the same content on all the different channels. Don't just cross-share all your content the same because your customers, your fans, your clients, whatever it might be, they will follow you on the channel of their choice. And some of them might follow you on a myriad of different channels depending on how active they are on social. So don't cross-share all your content because, again, all channels are different, the usage is different and everything. And what you really need to account for is that since every channel is different, every audience is different, so you really have to change your tone a little bit for each channel that you're on. So we always say that please don't cross-share the same content on all your channels. From a capacity standpoint and resources, that might work for some, but we always try, you have different audiences, so make sure that we take that into consideration to create a good user experience. And there are so many do's and don'ts that we take into account. So we want to make sure that we always do that. Tools. One of the main things with social media sharing is we're not really married to a single platform. And the reason why is because we haven't found a platform that's optimal for each solution that we try to do. We keep saying this, there's no mega tool out there that can help us or you do everything. We've demoed so many tools, and there's some really cool stuff out there. We've used everything from Hootsuite, TweetDeck, Sprout Social, Falcon, and we've demoed a million great social media management platforms like Sprinkler, Nuvi, Social Toaster, Curate, Olapic, Tailwind. We've tried all these different platforms, and what we really see is that some of these do a really good job in one aspect, and they all specialize. So some of them are really good at social media listening and monitoring. Some of them are really good at social media management. Some of them are really good at social media content creation, and so forth. So it's important to just try them out, demo your platforms and tools, and to find out what's going to work for your workflow and your processes. I think that's the best way to do it because, again, we're going to adhere to, we're going to do whatever the project needs us to do, and a project might need a different solution. So, from a curation standpoint, we use and organize content using a number of different platforms. And what these different platforms do, they allow us to repurpose, organize, and share the content with what we think is limited efforts. So for us, from a resources and capacity standpoint, using some of these channels that we use from just a curation standpoint, the reward is so high, the benefit is so high because we're not putting maybe that much manpower into them. We use obviously Pinterest, which is a social media network, but it started as a social curation network. We use Flipboard for a number of things. We curate our content on Apple News. We use Medium. We use Feedly, which we use Feedly for mostly content aggregation, but it also has curation possibilities and opportunities to it. So for us, when it comes to all these tools, it's really about what works for your team, what works for your workflow, what works for your processes, and then to kind of go from there. So in recap, content curation and sharing is all about sharing is caring. The sharing aspect of this is the most important part. It's about creating vibrant, healthy social communities, and that's what content sharing and social media, in essence, is all about. The publishing schedules is all about the consistency, so that we can decipher these patterns and harness real-time opportunities. The frequency and the cadence is, for us, we have to share the right amount of content at the right times. That's what frequency and cadence and strategy means to us. From a native channel proficiency, using the channel and the features of that channel to create the optimal user experience and the best organic reach. And then when we have cross-sharing versus automation, we always look at it from all those do's and don'ts. When the reward is greater than the risk, we'll do it. But there's definitely a human touch to it. The automation part of it is more old school, push, 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 versus more of a pull approach and more of an engaging approach. And then the tools part of it is, how are we able to share, repurpose, and curate the content while we harness these native channel features? That's what's really important to us from a tool perspective. So what's next? June 29th, and again, the content exploration sessions every last Wednesday of the month at noon Eastern Time. We're going to be talking about paid content or paid media. There's going to be someone else here. I will hopefully be the co-host. We'll have a panel up here, and it's going to be good. Content exploration sessions will run through 2016, and again, next one will be paid content. So from a Q&A perspective, anything? Bueller? Okay. Well, we're gonna go ahead and move forward. So, if you're interested in the resources and some of the things that I've talked about here in this session, go to this very long short link. We keep saying that it's a short link, and it is, but it's long, so it's starting to become a kind of an internal joke now because it is a very long link. But this resource page or landing page, whatever you want to call it, has it will have this video live streaming session on there. By the end of today or tomorrow or so forth. It will have a lot of resources. It will have links to some of our blog posts that are in relation to content cartography and content marketing. You can download these resources, download the Sketchpad, download the presentation deck, sign up for our weekly newsletter, and much, much more. That's it from for this session. We look forward to seeing you back here on June 29th to talk about paid content and paid media. Bye.